Imagine a cruise that gets canceled 3 times. When it finally happens, you're on a different ship with a totally different itinerary. Before you're done, the itinerary is changed 7 times. You have to deal with some COVID restrictions. And to top it all off, when you first arrive at the port, 5,000 miles from home, the ship isn't even there. Now, what if that trip turned out to be one of your best cruise vacations ever? This is that story. Welcome back to My Travel Window, where we help you travel as far as you can while you still can. Today we're going to give you our 5 loves and a few hates of our Mediterranean adventure aboard the Holland America Eurodam. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with Holland America, it's one of the oldest cruise lines in the world. This year they celebrated their 150th anniversary of cruise operations, going back to the 1870s. None of Holland America's 11 vessels are megaships, which means you won't find roller coasters, go-kart tracks, or massive water parks aboard any of their vessels. In fact, the Pinnacle class ships, the largest of the Holland America fleet, have a capacity of only 2,650 passengers, less than half the size of some of the other flagships of the other cruise lines. The Eurodam is the next largest class, with a capacity of 2,100. Of the 9 cruise ships that we have sailed, the Eurodam was by far the smallest. This almost immediately became love number 1. After less than a day aboard the ship, we discovered that we were sacrificing nothing that mattered to us about the cruise experience. But the entire ship felt more personable and accessible. It has a beautiful theater with quality shows, a pool area, specialty dining venues, all the good things that mattered to us. The only things we didn't experience were the crowds and the opportunities to get hopelessly lost, neither of which we missed. This brings us to love number 2, the ship design, with a special shout out to the crow's nest. As any veteran traveler knows, the best views are high up in the front of the ship. And Holland America ships have a large, fully windowed room with a 180-degree view, which they call the crow's nest. An espresso bar similar to the International Cafe on Princess serves up the best coffee on the ship, and it's the perfect place to hang out any time of the day. But for us, it was an especially wonderful place to bite into a fresh croissant and sip that first coffee to start our day. Everything about the ship layout reflects the fact that they have 150 years of experience in ship design. Expanding on that theme, the Holland America service was love number 3. This was evident at every level, from an amazing cabin steward to super helpful wait staff to efficiently run entertainment and shore excursions. At the time we sailed, there were some indoor COVID restrictions at entertainment venues, and we were concerned that we might not be able to be seated at tables with other strangers. Some people like that, some people don't. We love it. This is one of our favorite parts of any cruise. And cruise lines have different policies. Princess allows it, NCL does not. To our delight, HAL allowed us to be seated with other guests anytime we requested it, and we met a half dozen new friends who enriched our trip significantly. As I mentioned at the start of this video, the itinerary for this trip was a series of challenges from the beginning to end, and would certainly rank as the only major hates for this cruise. It was, in fact, the perfect storm of converging issues: logistical, political, and weather-related. On the logistical side, 3 major changes were made to the itinerary before we left. Changes were significant. We changed ships from the Westerdam to the slightly larger Eurodam. We dropped stops to Istanbul and Mykonos, with Istanbul being an overnight. We added Kotor, Santorini, and an overnight in Rhodes. Wow! But little did we know this was only the beginning. Political changes affected another of our key stops and our beginning and ending port. Localized COVID concerns canceled our stop in Kotor, Montenegro, and they substitute Koper, Slovenia in its place. That was nice, except that when we stopped in Koper, it was on a Sunday and the city was largely closed up for the day, so we saw very little. More importantly, our cruise was originally to have started and ended in Venice. Environmental concerns, most notably the threatened loss of their UNESCO World Heritage Site status as a result of perceived damage caused by large cruise ships, caused Venice to pass laws prohibiting cruise ships from docking at the entrance to the Grand Canal. Our ship embarkation and disembarkation were moved to the industrial port instead. Little did we know we would not see this port either. October weather caused 3 more changes once the cruise got underway. On the day we were to leave, we arrived at the port to discover our ship wasn't there. It never made it to Venice, but stopped at Trieste, about a 2.5-hour bus ride away. In the span of about 12 hours, HAL had to come up with more than 30 buses to transport everyone from the previous cruise back to Venice and to get all of us to the new location. Embarkation was difficult because of all the last-minute changes. This process would also be repeated at the other end of the cruise. Since we planned to spend the night in Venice before traveling on, it didn't affect us very much except for the wear and tear of a 2.5-hour bus trip and the confusion of all the details, and the fact that not very many people were actually in Venice waiting for us when we returned. So many people were very stressed by that change. One last change would happen mid-trip. Delayed by having to travel at slower speeds to adjust for winds and choppy water, we missed the call to Olympus, Greece altogether, adding a sea day instead. Listening to this dizzying set of changes and knowing that my wife and I are port people, you might suppose that all these changes dramatically change the value of the cruise to us. But the joy of returning to sailing and the superb efforts of the crew to ensure a memorable vacation overcame these issues. Here is a quick montage of what we saw, an indication of just how magical this trip still remains. Before I give my last 2 loves, and one more caution, let me invite you to subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost anything and lets YouTube know that people are interested in this content. And if you also hit the notification bell, you'll receive an indication of each new video. We currently have almost 90 videos on the channel, including several other ship and port reviews with new videos coming approximately weekly. When I give love number 4, anyone who's been on a Holland America ship will say, "Of course." And anyone who's not been on a ship will be puzzled in the beginning. For us, love number 4 is the music walk. This is what it sounds like, although you need to experience it to understand. On one side of one deck of the ship are a series of music venues that you can walk between. Lincoln Center Stage is a small venue for a piano and highly skilled chamber orchestra. B.B. King is a nightclub-style room which plays jazz and blues. Then you stroll to the Billboard on board, where dueling pianos and other musicians play up-tempo pop music in a rollicking atmosphere. On the 2 larger ships, there is a Rolling Stones rock room as well. Many of the performers from these venues will make their way to the main stage at various points throughout the trip. In fact, after more than 100 days at sea on 5 different cruise lines, I think the BBC Earth special, showing stunning nature videos backed by the Lincoln Center Stage Chamber Orchestra, is my single favorite cruise ship show ever. Okay, So now my biggest problem is to lump all the other things we liked about this cruise, such as the stateroom, the balcony, the food, entertainment, into a final like. I'll summarize it like this. The vibe of this ship matches who we are. What do I mean by that? Well, we're not fussy, pampered folk who crave luxury. That's more of an Oceania vibe. We're not a large family on the lookout for a big ship with latest toys and a variety of things for everyone in the family to do. That's more Royal Caribbean to us. We're not partiers like Carnival. We aren't people looking to reinvent the classic cruise experience like Virgin. And we're not overly formal like a Cunard. We just want an experienced crew and a ship that is set about to give us a quality, relaxed cruise vacation. This felt like the best of our Princess cruises, but on a smaller ship. In other words, it felt like us. That's why we plan another trip on HAL America this fall. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see similar reviews of other cruise ships, check out this one about our NCL trip in the Mediterranean, or this one about our Princess cruise to Alaska. Until next time, safe travels.